All right, let's take a look at finding the common denominator. If you remember, that's our very first step when we add or subtract fractions. So I kind of have four ways that I look at finding a common denominator. The first thing I look for is if I'm looking at my fraction 4 and 8, I'm asking myself, will the smaller fraction or the smaller denominator 4 go into the larger 8? It will. So my LCD for 1/4 and 1/8 will equal 8. 4 will go into 8, 8 will go into 8. It will work for both. Then I look at my 3/7 plus 4 21st. I need to find an LCD. So I'm going to use this first technique of will the smaller number go into the larger? Will 7 go evenly into 21? Yes, it will. So 7 will go into 21, 21 will go into 21. So our LCD equals 21. Sometimes we can just simply multiply the denominators and get a common denominator. So if I look at my 4/5 plus 3/7, I need to find an LCD for 5 and 7. I can simply multiply 5 times 7, and my common denominator would be 35. And in fact, one of the videos that you've watched has said, take the other denominator, 7, and multiply it by the first one. Take this denominator of 5 and multiply it by numerator and denominator of the other fraction, and then you come up with equivalent fractions. So that will work. Let's take a look at 1/4 plus 2/3. Well, again, we can go ahead and multiply. 4 times 3 equals 12. 12 will be our common denominator because 12 will work for both 3 and 4. 3 will go evenly into 12. 4 will go evenly into 12. And if we use the technique from above, we take the 3 and multiply it by top and bottom to get 1 times 3 is 3, 4 times 3 is 12. And we'll multiply 2/3 times this denom of 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. Then we have our common denominator and we have our equivalent fractions. We know the denominator will stay 12, and then we go ahead and we add the numerators. 4/12 plus 8/12 will give us 12/12, which equals 1 whole. That would be our final answer. A third technique is to just find a common multiple. So if we were going to add 1/8 plus 5/6, I could take the 8 and find common factors. 8 times 1 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 3 is 24, times 4, 32, times 5, 40. I could go on and on. Then I'm going to take my 6. I'll go 6, 12, 18, 24. Oh, and I can stop because 24 is common to both. So my LCD will be 24. 1/8, the denominator will go into 24s, and 5/6 we can make into something over 24. There's kind of a modified quotient of 1 that will work all the time. So let's take our 1/10 plus 2/5. We need to find an LCD. Maybe you look at it right away and you've used that step number 1 or technique number 1 where 5 will go into 10. 10 would be our LCD. Yep, totally right. We could also do this technique where we take our denominator 10, our denominator 5, we find a common factor. Well, 5 will go into 10 2 times, 5 will go into 5 once. I'm left with 1 times 2 times 5 equals 10, and 10 would be our LCD. When we look at 1/8 plus 5/6, we know from our work up here that the LCD is 24. But let's try it using this technique. Let's take 8 and 6, and let's find common factors. So 2 will go into both evenly. 2 will go into 8 4 times. 2 will go into 6 3 times. I look at my 4 and my 3. There are no common factors. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 4 times 2. 3 times 4 is 12 times 2 equals 24. So my LCD equals 24 is what I got up there also. Let's take our 9 and 15 and let's find a common factor. Well, 3. 3 will go into 9 evenly and 3 will go into 15. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 will go into 15 5 times. We look at our 3 and our 5. There is no common factor, so we will simply multiply. Our 3 times 3 is 9, times 5 is 45. So our LCD equals 45. Once I find my denominators, then I build up equivalent fractions and continue following the rules for adding and subtracting.